Hey guys, this is Megan from You Go to Be Kidding, where we are on our homesteading journey and we hope to encourage you on yours. So we have been in our property in this house for 3 years this week. So we wanted to show you around, give you a little tour of the different things we have, kind of give you some updates on where we started and what we have going on now and what all we've been working towards here on our farm. But 3 years, it's a long time and a short time all at once. But we hope to show you around. Hope you enjoy it. So I'm standing right outside our barn. It is looking pretty overgrown because we have been a little slow on weed eating. But this is 3 years later, and it's hard to tell in video, I know, but one of the big things that has changed is the quality of the pasture. I have some early photos that show this ground really patchy and not full of grass at all. And right now it looks crazy and abundant. It also has diversity. It's not all the same plant. There's grasses and weeds, but more and more grasses than there used to be. And it's just super cool to see the change. We can look out over. We've got some old buildings down there. Again, everything's grown up right now, which is fitting because this property was really overgrown when we first got here. So we started here with 3 pygmy goats and a handful of some laying hens, and that's all we had. We didn't have anybody else on our farm. We just bought a farm that had been neglected for several years and kind of overrun with donkeys and got to work. So first off, we had 3 pygmy goats. We bought those instead of dairy goats because we wanted to make sure that we knew what it took to raise goats, to keep them contained, if we even liked goats at all, before we committed to dairy goats. We didn't want to sell off, hello Miss River. We didn't want to sell off a dairy goat that was kind of sort of like a pet and really hurt the kids. So the kids were pretty young. It was 3 years ago, so that would have made them 9, 7, 5, and 3 when we moved. So we wanted to make sure that we were doing right by them and not just experimenting on our own. So we got those 3 little pygmy goats. When we moved into the house, we had had the pygmy goats since July. So July to September. We realized that the goats were fine. They were kind of fun to have around. We enjoyed the chores. So in October, we added our first 2 dairy goats, Ivy and Tansy. We had them, Ivy came bred. So that winter we worked on trying to clear up some of the, the overgrown trees and bushes. Then let's see, sorry, I'm taking a peek for River. Oh, there she is, she's at the fence, okay. We got our first dairy goats. We got the cat, we brought him in right away. The house had been not abandoned, it had been sold at auction and then not lived in for a year. So we wanted to make sure we got right on top of the mice problem. The cat was awesome. Really fun addition to have an actual pet in the mix. The dairy goats were super fun. In February, Ivy kidded for us for the first time, and that brought 2 goats, Willow and Mr. Fox and Socks. So Mr. Fox and Socks we still have. He is our weather right here. He is hanging out. We really like him. He's been a really fun goat to have around. So he's behind me somewhere. One of the big white blobs there. So Mr. Fox and Socks and Willow we sold the next year, so we don't have her anymore. But then throughout the year, let's see, what did we do? We got the cat and the goats. Then we had those 3 pygmy goats processed in January. That was always the plan. We got meat goats. We knew we would have an end date. So we didn't end up liking the meat very much. If we ever processed a goat again, we'd want to do it on farm and see if that helped reduce some of the gamey flavor. We felt like the goats were really gamey. We just got it all ground and we don't know how to cook goat. So we would be willing to try it again, but it wasn't a super great experience. But it was intentional and on purpose to bring in those little ones and then have an end date for them. So we had our first kids. We went through a summer. We raised our first garden here, which did better than I could have imagined. It was the biggest garden I'd ever done. Then we got, we got sheep that first summer. So we let the goats kid and had experience with kids. And then we added some sheep to our farm. We added 3 ewes and a ram. Unfortunately, late that summer, we did have one of those ewes die. She was young herself. She would have only been maybe 6 to 8 months old. She died probably from worms, and it happens. So that was our first loss. I remember that being really, really tough. All in the same like 2-week time period in that first summer. We lost a sheep to worms. Damien and I both had COVID for 2 weeks. We got a donkey who we'd never had before. We found out we had mold in our house, and Damien was struggling with Lyme. So it was quite the 2-week time period. And after we got our sheep, and we had lost one, we did run our first round of meat birds that summer before all the craziness. So we did, I can't remember if it was 20 or 30. I think it was 20. And that was a good number for our first batch. So just few enough that we could get it done. But man, that first time, processing day takes forever. The cleanup takes forever. You just don't know what you're doing. You're slow. And so I'm glad that we picked that number. It was a good match for us that first year. Then we had the couple weeks of craziness and sickness and stuff, and then just a summer or a winter of rest and recuperation, and getting used to everybody. So then comes spring, and we had our first batch of lambs born and our second batch of goat kids born. Late May, we had the baby donkey born. So it was a lot of fun. And then in June, actually right before the donkey was born, we got River, our Caracachon livestock guardian dog puppy. So it was a spring full of babies and fun. And that was a really sweet season on the farm, just to see those babies and enjoy them growing up. And then that turned into a summer where we lost 2 of our lambs, one to parasites and one to what we think would have been white mussel disease due to the drought that we had. We decided to sell our donkey and her foal because the donkey bit at Esther, our youngest, and she had kind of bit at us too. And we just realized that we were ill-equipped to handle a donkey. So we found her a farm with hundreds of acres and an old farmer that just wanted to love on her and her baby and feed them treats. And we've gotten updated photos, and they're super sweet. And let's see, so then we ran our second batch of meat birds that second year, our second garden, which we expanded a little bit at a time. We added a little bit to the garden to be able to run like sweet potatoes and some squashes and things. And our second year garden did great. I'm always so thankful for what God's done in our garden. Because again, I had done a 4x8 garden bed, and I had raised tomatoes in 5-gallon buckets. But I had never done a full-size garden, and the years here have been really good, and I'm so thankful. Hey, girl. So we did that garden. We ran meat birds. We did 4 batches of 30. So we were comfortable with that 30 number for one weekend. We do everything in one Saturday. And the 30 number was good, but by the time we'd done 2 batches, we were much faster and much better. And so those last 2, the cleanup and the tear down, it's so much work to do extra ones. We were pretty exhausted by the end of that summer, fall of 2022, that second year here. So we quickly decided that this year we were gonna do the chickens differently. We ran those 4 batches. When the animals and the summer and the garden was done, we decided to renovate our kitchen inside the house starting in November. And that was a big project. It needed to get done. It took us a long time, and I really should show an update of that. That is a video that needs to come. So it's not done by any means, but it is fully functional and has been fully functional for quite some time. So that's been a huge upgrade and a huge blessing. Once we did that, so now we're talking into spring of 2023. We did have our buck goat, Link. He had been injured and really struggling, and we had to put him down in November of 2022. And at this point, animal losses are tough, but not so hard on us. It makes me reflect and make sure that there's not something I could have done better on my management, but it's not so heartbreaking. That first sheep we lost the first year was heartbreaking. Then we lost 2 lambs the next year, and that was hard, but not the same. More just curious, like what happened, what could we have done better? And by the time Link went, he had been struggling for a long time, and honestly I felt like there was a little bit of relief there. So I wish that it had gone differently with him, but in the end it is what it is. We've had major chicken issues. So that summer where we ran 4 batches of chickens, we had so many losses. We had raccoon attacks. I had to doctor some birds. I had to put some birds down. It was just a summer of loss that second year. And it was a hard season, but I think it was a needed season for farming because there's always losses. So I appreciate that we got to deal with that and kind of move on and get the encouragement and support and know that just because we had losses doesn't mean we were bad farmers or doing it wrong. It's just life. Everything in the world, there's life and death. If it lives long enough, it's gonna die. So I feel like we learned a lot that summer. Our systems got a little smoother. We were a little more efficient at running the farm and moving our fences and moving the animals. Our pastures are getting better because we've run chickens on them and just run the goats and the sheep over them. So we're seeing lots of improvement amidst the loss. It's just cool how God works and how the different things play together. It's been a good couple of years. So then this year, spring of 2023, we got our land cleared. We cleared over an acre in the back that opened it up. It's now growing grass that we can start to run the animals through and add space so we don't have to run as much hay over the winter. It potentially allows us to think about getting a cow. It was a really great choice to add that land by clearing it and turning it into pasture. And this spring we had lambs. We had 4 lambs born on the farm, and I think it was 8 goat kids born, and then we brought in Oak, our newest buckling. So we had 9 baby goats running around, which is always a lot of fun. They are so much fun. There's so much joy in the spring when you've got all these little animals jumping around. River turned 1. She's getting to be a pretty good girl. She's got her moments by all means. There's Oak back there. But this summer, so after we had lambs and kids, this summer we decided to do 2 big batches of chickens. We did 2 rounds of 60. They went super well. Each year we've gotten better. We're faster. We've kind of figured out the process and which areas are slowing us down when we process chickens. And so we were able to raise the same number of chickens that we did last year in 2 batches, way better. And next year we're even considering just doing 1 big batch. Again, we're faster. The friends that have come and helped us are faster. Our boys are interested in potentially doing some chickens as a business. We'll see how that plays out. But it's just been cool to see each year's growth. We've added slowly. The garden got a little bit bigger this year. I've added other areas like the strawberry bed and the blueberries, and the figs have grown. And I love to see the growth each year. I love to see the change in our pastures each year and in the health of our animals as our pastures are getting better. And it's just been cool to see the growth over these 3 years. We started small. We added little things each year without going crazy, but it's felt like a lot. It was really hard that first year moving everybody around, and it got a little bit easy, not necessarily easier, but different, not as new. It didn't feel as overwhelming. It's still hard work, but it's been good. It's been good to get outside and enjoy nature, enjoy God's creation, and to just work hard. I mean, God created man in a garden and to tend it and to work it and to, like, hard work was before Adam and Eve sinned, before the fall. So I just think that's cool. We're made to work, and it is satisfying. It is like soul filling to work hard. So we've really enjoyed that part. I mean, it does get tired. I am tired of milking every morning, and it's important to kind of figure out if that's really going to work or in what seasons we can rest. I am looking forward to winter and winter rest. I don't want to milk year round. So I'm looking forward to that time. And it's just been a sweet season over the last 3 years to see our farm grow and to see those things change as we've been working. So over the course of the years, we learned a bunch of lessons. We learned to just value a slow life. Things take time. The animals take time. The pastures take time. Cooking takes time. But to value that slow life. And a homestead's always a work of progress. We have lots of projects that we have worked on and completed, and a million more to go. It's never done. Hello. Thank you. There's always another project, and that's part of the process. Enjoying that process of having something to work on, working towards the next thing. I love something that Justin Rhodes always says, and I think he got it from the book Atomic Habits, is that you're just looking for 1% better. Do one thing or 1% better change each day. Do 1% more work than you did the day before, and that compounds into these amazing leaps, this amazing growth, even though it was 1% at a time. So we just want to encourage you. Anybody can do it. It does take time. Don't get on your homestead and expect it to all be perfect, or jump into 15 different types of animals at the same time. Start small, learn where you are, do the things that you can. Even if what you can do right now is grow a tomato plant in a 5-gallon bucket, or learn how to cook at home and from scratch, do it. Do it. Start small, start somewhere, and you can see a lot of these changes as well, even if you don't have property to be on. But we have really enjoyed this journey. We hope that you have an opportunity to learn something new, work hard, and just enjoy the process of slowing down. Thanks for watching. We will see you next week.